Welcome to the Chronicles of Cigarnia, where we pair and review books and cigars. And I learned from my reading this week that both of these things can protect us from black magic. So, yes, please. Today we have my surprise favorite read of the summer, Tim Powers' swashbuckling adventure on Stranger Tides, and the Alec Bradley Caribbean classic to go with it. Now, if you find yourself here for one of these things and not the other, stick around. You might get some interesting tidbits that will help you survive some of these back-to-school functions that we're all having to do right now. Oh my gosh, we're going back to school. Okay, the cigar. So you can see it's this nice tanned brown, tan like a sailor's face, I guess you could say, depending on where that sailor originated. You can see the band there. My compliments to Alec Bradley's graphic design team. This is the second cigar of theirs that I have featured, and their bands are elegant and classy. They have a lot going on if you look close, but they manage to not look cluttered. What I like particularly about this one is that pop of color with the tobacco flower right there. So a little bit of earth coming off the end there, and a nice fresh grass smell. All right, let's start this. Ooh, here we go. Here it goes. Kind of. Almost floral. Nice. Except for that little stowaway. Okay, a few things before I actually light the cigar. I want to start talking about the book. It is by the amazing Tim Powers. Here he is, the man himself, looking very much like he did when he was actually my professor way, way back in my undergraduate days, like 200 years ago. A very eccentric, fun individual. But since I have some inside information about him, I did want to do a little bit of an author quiz for you. Okay. Recent photos, like the one I just showed you, make me think that Powers got some spectacles. But back in the day, he used to have an alternative means of seeing. And so I would like to know from you, does this gent look like a guy who would A, have a monocle that he would pull out that was always attached to his blazer pocket, or B, use a spyglass, pirate style, to look at the students in the back of the classroom, or C, use a magnifying glass, kind of like Sherlock Holmes, and examine whatever it was he was looking at the time. Favorite part here. Almost. Got your answer? Okay, I'm gonna tell you at the end. Tricky, I know, so stay tuned. Okay, first impressions. Lots of pepper. And a lingering sweetness from that smoke already, but it's definitely heading towards some woodiness, I can tell already. So, yeah, all right. Okay, to the surprise of no one, I've always been a cynical old grumpy pants, even when I was a kid, and I have never really liked pirates. I remember getting off of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland when I was a little kid and being, number one, scared out of my mind because of the skeletons, but also number two, infuriated that we were celebrating these people. I remember thinking like, they are horrible, they rob people, they are gross and unhygienic, why are we romanticizing this? Okay, I probably didn't use the word romanticizing, but you get my drift, right? I'm sure I was such a pain in the butt kid. But all of this is to say that I have read all of Tim Powers' work except this one because of that very reason. Okay, so I was wrong. This was so much fun. Keep in mind that this came out in the late 80s. Ghost ships and crazy captains have been a thing of myth forever. But when this came out, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies are like 20 years in the future. And it's fun to see how Disney was influenced by myths and this book, actually. Yes, Disney did buy the rights to this, but the book is so different. It's kind of crazy how not similar they are. It's about as close to the movie as I am to Johnny Depp. So our hero is a young man who used to be a puppeteer who is sailing to the New World to right a wrong done to his father by his uncle. But within the first few pages, we are in full attack by pirates. His priorities drastically change, and the action does not stop until the back cover slams down shut. In between, you get the Fountain of Youth, early Caribbean settlements, voodoo magic versus old world European magic, pre-contact Florida landscapes, twisted, evil love, true love, zombie sailors, crazy storms, ghosts, epic naval battles, cannons, swords, pistols, islands that are actually little pirate towns, lots and lots of rum, and some darn good historical information to top it off. Okay, so let's take a breath. I'm getting into the first third of the cigar. So this is quite peppery, at least to my palate, but the dominant note I'm getting is definitely a strong wood. Yeah, there's some bittersweet chocolate in there that is making the overall flavor much more intense. And after this dies down, I'm left with the sweet, almost charred flavor that lingers at the back of the palate. It kind of reminds me of sweet barbecue smoke, if you know what I'm talking about. The burn is actually quite consistent and pretty nice. Got a nice light ash on there that is playing out a little bit, but that could be me waving it around. And it puts out a decent amount of smoke, which I happen to like, So back to the book. What Tim Powers does in a lot of his novels is he will take actual historical situations or places that have intrigue around them, and he will explain these situations and mysteries using supernatural elements. So to do this kind of work, you need to do a ton of really detailed historical research. For this book, it has to do with the way that the characters talk about the parts of the ship, how you sail the ship, the kind of action you need to do, what the ropes are called, what the kind of clothes is that they're wearing, what the food is that they're eating, the customs going on at the time, what the British Navy was trying to do as far as laws. They're all things that the characters just kind of throw away in passing conversation or thoughts. But at the end, you as a reader realize that you have been absorbing all of this fun historical detail. And I do really think that I could sit down with a map of a British naval ship right now and start filling out the different parts. Okay, maybe the ship thing is a little bit ambitious, but I could definitely tell you about the different kinds of weapons. So I'm quite a ways into the second third of the cigar, and I think I've pinpointed that woodiness, at least for my palate. And it seems to be more of a mesquite type of wood than a oak or a cedar, if that makes any sense at all. And now that I've gotten into the second third, there is a lot of saltiness that is coming out, which I guess fits a sea-based book theme very well. Still has a little bit of pepperiness, still has that lingering sweetness, like a fruity sweetness. And I also have to say that the thing kind of smokes itself. I haven't had to relight or touch up or anything. It just keeps going, which is very handy. So a few final things about this book. The minds of the characters are quite sophisticated. They are constantly quoting Dante's Inferno or Greek mythology. And Powers' writing is great. Things that will happen at the beginning of the book that seem incidental or random things characters say or quote absolutely come back at the end and you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about. All kinds of wonderful, sometimes grotesque and creepy revelations, but nothing is wasted. Everything gets used. Things get wrapped up in a nice bow, mostly. And our friend the tobacco leaf makes a guest appearance. I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say that our favorite leaf is very important when it comes to protecting oneself. Okay, remember that quiz. Did this gentleman A, use a monocle, B, a spyglass, or C, a magnifying glass like Sherlock Holmes? The answer is C. This guy would peer down at whatever he was looking at and reading on his desk and then always look up at us through the magnifying glass. And for just a split second, we would get this huge magnified blue eye looking at the class. It was both disturbing and hilarious, and I'm sure it was totally on purpose. That's what kind of class it was. Okay, to sum up, I found this to be such a delightful late summer read. You've got the ocean, you got adventure. It was really darn fun. Put some sea shanties on, pour yourself a little glass of rum, or big glass, up to you, and have a good time. Speaking of that rum, if you watch this at all, you know that I don't really drink very much, but when I was taste testing this, I couldn't resist. I poured myself a little bit of Florida Cana rum just to see and get into the spirit of things. And it made the rum smell like bananas. It was delicious smelling. And then I took a little sip and it tasted like rum. Oh, one of those little disappointments in life. Okay, but to the third. It is maintaining that strong woody flavor, but the bittersweet chocolate is starting to come more to the foreground. That pepperiness is still there, but there is also an additional hot peppery flavor that's going on. Both kinds of peppers in one cigar. As far as burn, it's you can see it's starting to get a little bit ragged and it's splaying a little bit, but still pretty much smoking itself, as I said earlier. Not having to relight it at all. Yeah, very nice. As far as the room notes, how this thing smells, it is very sweet. It's got that fruity sweet quality that had been lingering, but it's too bad that that sweet smoke doesn't translate into what stays in your hair and on your clothes. It is quite fragrant. So as far as recommending this, I was looking on Alec Bradley's website and it is there as a 2020 release. And I don't know, maybe, with the pandemic, a lot of stuff probably happened because I have not seen this very much in stores. 2020, who knows what the heck happened. But websites have been listing it at anywhere from $6 to $8. So it is a good deal if you like an intense flavor. Maybe this one will be for you. Okay, for next time, I'm gonna feature one of the books that is always on my shelf, this blue book right here. It is my favorite book about cigars. Some of you have asked how I got into cigars, and I'm hoping that this episode is gonna answer that question for you. Of course, it had to do with the book. As I wrap up, I want to say welcome to any new subscribers. I'm really glad to have you here. Thank you to people who keep coming back and for commenting. I am always so grateful and blown away that you watch. Until next time, I hope you're smoking some good cigars, reading some really fun books, and ideally doing them both at the same time, maybe with a sea shanty on in the background. Why not? Thanks again and see you soon. Don't know the words to this sea shanty except for rum. Bum 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 bum.